All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, with the initial college football playoff rankings about to drop, we are going to find out who's in and who's out. But in regards to being the four best teams in the country, who should be in the field of four? In my opinion, Georgia is the number one seed right now. The Dogs are a step above everybody else in the field, and I would thoroughly be surprised to not see them finish the regular season at least unblemished. Then for me, for number two, I know some people are going to like it, some people are not, but I'm going to roll with Alabama right now at number two. To me, I know that the Tide they have that one loss on the road to Texas A&M, but I feel like this team is just laying in the weeds, and we've seen in years past with Alabama, they might have that hiccup at some point during the regular season, but when they get rolling, the Tide really get rolling. But that you look at that Iron Bowl matchup to finish the regular season against Auburn, and then of course a potential SEC championship game against Georgia. That both of those contests are going to be huge. For me, the third seed right now would be Oklahoma. And I say that, I mean, the quarterback change for the Sooners did not slow things down for this team. They're starting to get it going. They've had some bumps in the road, but most importantly, they're unblemished. And the Sooners, they still got some workout cut out for them going ahead because you figure meetings with both Oklahoma and pardon me, Oklahoma State and Baylor, and then on top of that, not just meeting Oklahoma State and Baylor, most likely for Oklahoma to win the Big 12, they're going to have to face one of these teams that I just mentioned two times, and beating a team twice in the season is going to be tough. It always is tough. Number four, I'm going to go with Michigan State, and I mean the hard-nosed Spartans showed this past Saturday with their comeback win at home over Michigan that they are indeed for real. And you look at Michigan State, they control their own destiny because they still have a regular season meeting with Penn State as well as Ohio State and a potential Big Ten championship game. And if Michigan State comes in undefeated, you're going to give them the spot in the college football playoff, hands down. Some teams that are right in the mix. You look at Ohio State, and they had that setback. They lost at home earlier this season, back in September to Oregon. And I said it then that Ohio State and their young quarterback CJ Stroud were going to continue to get better as the season progressed. And we're seeing that, especially when they were able to hold serve against a very tough Penn State team this past Saturday night at the Horseshoe. You look at Cincinnati, and the Bearcats are currently the second ranked team in the AP poll, but it's going to be so difficult for them. I know that they're undefeated, but coming from a group of five conference in the American, they got to get to that conference championship game. They have to go unblemished, and more than likely, they're going to face either SMU or Houston in that game. And it's going to be important for Cincinnati not only to be undefeated, but also have either SMU or Houston come in with just one loss. That's the one thing that's going to be their saving grace, and obviously they would still need a lot of help. I look at Oregon, and I know that they had to hiccup against Stanford. No offense to Stanford, but Oregon was really expected to run away with the Pac-12. They still have an opportunity to win this conference, but would it be enough? Oklahoma State, they have the one loss. They lost a couple of weeks ago to Iowa State, but the Cowboys are playing some very good football. They're running the football effectively. We saw them get the road win over Texas. We saw this team give Baylor their only loss of the season. And of course, Bedlam is always going to be a hectic one. And this team could potentially knock off Oklahoma. Then what? Notre Dame. The Irish, they have the one loss to Cincinnati, and they lost that game at home. And of course, Notre Dame, unlike any other team that is listed here, they don't have the luxury of a conference championship game. So, because of that, Notre Dame's going to have to win out, and they're also going to need some help. Most notably, they're going to have Cincinnati lose. And then Baylor. Baylor's another one of those teams out of the Big 12. I talked about them losing to Oklahoma State, but they still face Oklahoma. And again, this is a situation where these two teams could meet twice. And if Baylor wins the Big 12 with one loss, it's going to be very hard to keep them out of the field of four. So you ask yourselves, who has the best chance to get in? For me, if Georgia goes undefeated, regardless of what they do in the SEC championship game, they're in. Alabama cannot have another step back. They have to run the table. You look at Oklahoma; their road in front of them is still tough with having to face Oklahoma State and Baylor. Michigan State, they have a puncher's chance, but it's going to be a tough road ahead of them as well as in the Big Ten. So I think at this point, the winner of the SEC is going to get in. The winner of the Big 12 is going to get in, and the winner of the Big 10 is going to get in as well, which leaves that last spot as the ultimate wild card in this. Would we have a team from one of these three conferences mentioned get in? A second team rather. um, could Wake if Wake Forest runs the table? I mean, I didn't even mention the Demon Deacons, but if Wake Forest runs the table and wins the ACC, do they get in as well? I mean, this is a Power Five conference. It's not as strong this year as it has been in years past, but nonetheless, and I say that because Clemson has really taken a step back. But nonetheless, if the Demon Deacons run the table, do they get in? You look at so many, like there's a lot of factors, but I think the best thing about this is the majority of these teams that I mentioned here tonight all face each other within the next 4 to 5 weeks at least once. So I think this is important because they're going to have an opportunity to decide it themselves. They're going to get a chance to take care of their business on the field where it should be. So I think it's going to make the this month of November that much more important as far as the games right now. You're facing each other, and then on top of that, you can't even like take your foot off of the throttle against a lesser tier team. Just ask Penn State about that a couple of weeks ago as they fell at home to Illinois. Just ask Iowa about that as they fell at home a couple of weeks ago to Purdue. So it's a situation where you know what, this thing is going to take care of itself on the gridiron where it should be. And you know what? It's going to make for a fun filled and exciting month of November to see who is going to get to the playoff. So, folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And as always, please feel free to follow me on Twitter. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.